Hello, hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, I'm Scott, and this is Salih, who's over
Hi.
here.
Yeah, right now I'm just here. How are you doing, Scott?
Doing pretty well, doing pretty well. Life is a bit crazy, but yes, you'll notice that Salih is not Simon. They're
Yeah,
not spelled the
exactly.
same way. They don't have the same color hair. But yep, Simon is away for the day. And unfortunately, we don't have Randall either, but we will have them back next week. So for today, it's just Salih and I. And unfortunately, we are also kind of on deadline. So it's probably going to be a shorter stream than usual, just letting you all know right now. But alrighty, let's see here. My name is Scott Stahl. I have been doing Flutter since 2017, one of the leaders of the Flutter community. I also am an organizer of GDG Cleveland and generally do a lot of other stuff that you probably don't care about. Salih, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, now that you said that you've been in Flutter app since 2017, this means that we know each other for 5 years because I have started around the same time as well. The time
5 years.
flies. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
crazy.
does. It seems like we were just together at IO 2018 a little bit ago. There's some pretty strange pictures of that
Yeah.
that should not be seen by the public. Anyway,
If they dig good enough, probably they will find it. But that is the only
oh,
hint that I'm going to be giving.
is that a
Anyway,
Google basketball? That's
yeah, exactly. I have my ways around things, man.
man. I
Yeah,
thought
if
getting a
you know the
dash was
right
a big deal.
people, you will get the right swag, I guess.
Oof. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we got a few do's and don'ts here. So they're pretty simple. They're pretty common. I mean, be decent, be respectful, be constructive. It's YouTube. Be decent anyway. At least it's not Reddit. Okay, don't post anything that's adult, rude, offensive statements. Don't advertise, promote your company. Don't go running around saying, hey, I'm looking for a job. Don't spam, which is if you can still see your question in the chat, don't post the same question again. If we see people spamming questions, basically they're going to get bumped to the bottom of the question pile. So let's see here. And harassment, of course, of any kind is not tolerated. You will be blocked and gotten rid of. And was that a beer? No, kidding.
No, no, no.
Uh,
It's a Turkish tea.
um, but another thing many of you know, but maybe newer people don't, all of the community resources such as the Slack, Humpday Q&A, and a number of others, we all share ban lists. So if someone is abusive enough to get kicked off of one, they'll suddenly find themselves kicked off of everything at one time. So it's a little policy that has helped keep things decent, and hopefully it'll still keep things decent in the future. So let's see here. Today we have a couple of folks from Widgetbook, and we have Lucas and Jens. And hello, Jens, and hello, Lucas.
How are you? Hey guys.
Hey, hey.
Well, hey guys.
Good evening.
I'm looking at the stuff you're getting ready to share, and it looks like I'm looking at more of us instead
Yes,
of the stuff that you're probably wanting to share.
yes,
But
that's right. So I'm getting right into it.
okay.
You guys
Well, I'll tell you
just
what.
yeah.
They're here to talk about Widgetbook, and I would try and explain what Widgetbook is, but they're probably a lot better at it. And Salih and I will be back to answer at least some general questions later on. But again, we're probably not going to be doing a whole lot of that today. Missing Simon, we can't break down the molecular structure of of the C++ code that's used in the bottom layer of Flutter, but we will do what we can. In the meantime, gentlemen, it's all yours.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot for having us, first of all. As Scott already said, I'm Lucas. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Widgetbook. And Widgetbook is the custom widget library for Flutter. Primarily, what we did is we built an open source package that's heavily inspired by Storybook.js. So all of you who are coming from a web development background have probably stumbled upon Storybook.js before in the past. And that was also our path. So when we started out, and we also come from a web development background, and we came to Flutter. And we realized that there is really no good storybook solution. There were always some attempts to build a storybook solution, but as it always is with open source packages, it's always a great effort of the community. But if there's not enough resources for the maintainers to do it full time, it often lacks certain features that are critical. And therefore, we built our own storybook solution first. And that was like the founding start of Widgetbook. And then we got feedback from a lot of Flutter friends from ours who said, hey, we'd like to use your Widgetbook as well. And then we said, hey, okay, why not open source it, make it available for the whole community? And that was actually the launch date of Widgetbook. It was about September last year. And from that day forward, we really improved it a lot and got a lot of feedback that helped us a lot to improve it. And I'll quickly walk you through what's possible with our open source package. So I'll quickly show you the UI. Then Jens, my colleague, will take over and show you how everything can be configured in the code. And then we're also very excited to show you our collaboration platform. It's actually still in the closed launch phase, but we're excited to show it to you anyways. Because the feedback that we got from day one was that Widgetbook is already great for developers, but it would be even better if the developers also have the chance to share the Widgetbook with their design team to simplify their review processes. But let's get started and show you what's possible with Widgetbook. So what are we seeing here? What we are seeing is that with Widgetbook, you can catalog all of your widgets. And since in Flutter everything is a widget, you can also easily catalog all of your screens of your app. And what you can do then with Widgetbook is you can not only catalog them, so have them neatly organized here, but what you can do as well, you can easily see those widgets and also those screens in different themes. So, for example, for this screen here. We can see this screen in light mode and also in dark mode. If you would have configured more themes here, we could also see it in many more themes. You could also see your widgets or screens in different themes simultaneously, so you can have a side-by-side comparison. You can also see how does my screen or my widget look on different device sizes to see if it scales well. You can also see it side by side. What you can do as well is you can switch the localization mode. So you can see, okay, how does my widget look in English or in German or maybe in Spanish? And by having the side-by-side comparison here, you can, for example, see that even though the button in German is a lot bigger than the one in English, it still scales well, and we don't have any overflow issues here. What you can do as well with Widgetbook is you can include the very popular device frame or device preview package of Flutter. That was something that was requested by our users, so it's not directly included into Widgetbook, but if you like to use Widgetbook with the device frame or device preview package, it is possible as well, and thereby you will have like a proper device frame wrapped around your screen or your widget. And it also is possible to see your widget without any device frame, so just in isolation. And what you can do as well is you can change the accessibility settings so that you can, for example, increase the text scale factor to any size that you like, and you can also easily see your widgets not only in portrait mode but also in landscape mode. Yeah, so that's about it regarding the Widgetbook UI. I'd love to take questions if there are any, and if not, I'll would say Jens can take over and show you how you can configure everything in code. So that would be everything from my presentation. So Scott, you can give it to Jens.
Well, one sec. We do have one.
Awesome.
What are you using to preview on iPhone and Samsung?
So are you referring to this year, to our Widgetbook frame?
I believe it would be.
Okay. So what we are doing here is we provide you pre-built in Widgetbook. That's something that Jens is going to show you in a second. Pre-built in Widgetbook. We already defined every Apple device that's available on the market, and we also defined a bunch of Android devices. But as you can all imagine, it would be pretty tedious to configure every Android device that's available on the market. So what we said is we're just going to provide every Apple device, and regarding the Android devices, we provide some of them. And if you like to add more Android devices, what you can do is you can configure them yourself. And to answer your question specifically, what we are doing is we are configuring the devices via the screen resolution. So if you would Google, for example, for an iPhone 11, and what you can definitely easily find out is what the resolution of the device frame looks like, and that's what we're taking into account here. Does it answer the question?
I certainly hope so. We'll find out when they reply in the chat.
Awesome.
But in the meantime, Jens, you've got some stuff you wanted to go over?
Yes. I would like to present what open source packages we are offering, and also how you as a developer can use these packages. There is currently some chatter around here in the co-working space, but I hope you can hear me properly. Yeah, as you can see on the screen.
One thing we're going to do, Jens, you might want to make your text a little bit bigger.
Yes.
Just basically like with a control scroll or control plus. And in order to make it even more readable, I'm going to take all of us down so that so they can see the code better. And actually, we have an answer that you did answer the question. So that's good. That's always a good thing.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah. So what you can see here is it's just a search in PubDev for Widgetbook, and what you will find is you will find these three packages that we are offering to you. When I'm presenting the code, we will first talk about the Widgetbook package, and then we will also talk about how you can generate parts of Widgetbook with a more automated solution, which will be using the annotation as well as the Widgetbook generator. Okay. Yeah, let's hop into the code. And what I'm presenting here is a solution that we are often using to present Widgetbook, and you've already seen the defined Widgetbook, which was presented by Lucas. And we are currently looking at the pubspec file in which we are seeing all the packages that are used for this project. And as you can see here, we are first the Widgetbook package, and today we are using the 2.0 version, which is currently in beta, but we will release this version as the official version of Widgetbook soon. And if you want to use Widgetbook, you will add the Widgetbook package as a dev dependency to your project, and then you can start working and implementing and cataloging all your widgets within Widgetbook. Yeah, the first thing that we always recommend doing when you want a quick start, there are obviously also more advanced solutions, but the one thing that we recommend is to create a new folder within the package folder, which is called Widgetbook. So this is on the same level within the folder hierarchy than the lib folder. And you will see two files here. The first one is the main file, and we are defining a second main function that like lives next to the main function of your actual app, and it will run the widget book instead of your actual app. So that makes sure that you can pick if you want to run your app or widget book. And as you can see here, and this is a pretty simple simple widget that is called here, which is called hot reload, and we are implementing this so that you can make changes in Widgetbook and just press the save button and hot reload, and then you will be able to see all the changes immediately. So we always recommend to create this hot reload widget, which is pretty much an empty widget that just uses the Widgetbook widget that is provided by our package. Okay, so the first thing that you would like to do if you are like within the hot reload widget is to call our Widgetbook widget. And as you can see here, we are using a like more custom constructor, a name constructor that is configuring material theming for you. But if you like to, you can also use Cupertino material, Cupertino theming, or you can also define a theme yourself, which is not material and also not Cupertino. But this is more complex, and today we will also only talk about how you can use the material theming. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about how you can configure Widgetbook and which properties exist that you can configure and then adapt Widgetbook to your needs. Okay, so the very first property that is also required is the app info, and app info just specifies like a label within Widgetbook, how this Widgetbook or how this Widgetbook is called, or to which application or even package this is referring. We included this as what you're seeing in the top left corner here. We included this because it might be that you have like a huge solution, maybe a monorepo with multiple packages, also multiple like UI packages, and so you can label your Widgetbook so you don't get confused on which package and which Widgetbook you're currently looking. So this is what, just to keep everything a little bit organized, and nothing special yet. And an additional property is the themes property. As Lucas already stated and has shown in the examples, this is what is displayed here in the toolbar, where you can select the different themes, and you can define a list of themes that you have defined for your application that will be used by Widgetbook, and then you can decide which theme you would like to preview. Yeah, and the themes property allows you to specify this list of themes. You will just define a Widgetbook theme. You will give it a name, and also define which theme, in this case, which theme data is used. Is the screen still shared? Okay, there it's back.
This is what happens when I try to type while the wrong window is focused.
It's happened. Sometimes I'm also getting confused which window is confused, which window is in focus, and then I'm trying to figure out where I typed something. Yeah, this is what the themes is doing then. Pretty similar to how themes are defined. You can define devices, and the devices, as Lucas already said, you can view multiple at the same time, and this helps to figure out how your widgets adapt to multiple screen sizes. You can obviously also use tablets or desktop devices if you need a like fully responsive design that works on mobile as well as on desktop. And yeah, we have multiple like collections of device that you can use, but you can also define your own device, maybe a squared device, because we don't have the watch you are implementing on, or whatever comes to your mind. Okay, yeah, let's continue with the frames. So per default, this is also actually the default. Per default, we define 3 frames, and this is also what Lucas showed. So if we are going back to preview an iPhone 11, we have multiple frames. So we are currently on the Widgetbook frame. You can also do a device frame, and in addition, maybe this might not work, or it's working. You can also yeah, use this on no frame at all. So you can see this this widget standalone, so you can figure out how this will look, yeah, without any device. And yeah, what's configured here is the default, but you can also just say I don't want maybe the device frame. I only want to use what we offer with Widgetbook and no frame. This is up to you. Okay. Yeah, so this use case builder here, that is something that that allows you to customize a little bit how these widgets that you are defining within Widgetbook are previewed. And we also just had a question how it is previewed. So the question was, is it previewed on an emulator? Is it like previewed on an actual device, or is it like previewed within Flutter? And we are displaying everything within Flutter. So what you're seeing is not running on an actual device. Is just a preview. If you want a pixel perfect solution, you need to run this on the device. But this helps you to get a really good estimate on how your widget will perform in on different devices. And for this, it's a great solution that is also extremely fast, and you don't need to do a lot of compiling. You can view it on multiple and whatever device you would like to within just a few seconds. Okay, so yeah, as Lucas demonstrated as well, we are supporting localization. So you can define your localization delegates with the appropriate property, and also define which locals are actually defined within your app, or which you would like to display within Widgetbook. And this also helps you to test specific localizations, and if these localizations also match a specific device. Okay, now we have talked a lot about a lot of properties on how to set up the property bar in the top of Widgetbook. So all the configurations that allow you to customize and also specify like your test environment. And yeah, so then we can talk about how you define specific specific use cases and how to get widget rendered. But yeah, the moderators just told me that that we could also do like regarding some of these settings, and I think this is like a great timing to do this. So if anyone has a question regarding these settings or how specific things are working, feel free to answer these to question, or to ask me your questions now.
I don't see anything particularly about the settings, but there are a few different questions here.
Okay,
let's see.
Yeah,
here.
let's hear it.
Let's see. Can Widgetbook handle native functionalities? For instance, getting device battery percentage left, or is it just a basically a UI tool and can only do things that are common to all platforms?
Yeah, this is a great question. For now, this is only a UI tool, so it's basically amazing if you have a component library, if you want to view all your components, for example, buttons, cards, or also like custom cards that you defined. It's great for these things. If you want to access specific hardware-related functionalities that require Flutter plugins, this is a bit hard to do. But if you have widgets and implement your architecture in a way that allows you to mock data, it is also possible to insert this mock data into your UI elements, and allows you to display these as if the data is coming from a specific device plugin, from a specific device. So the short answer is no. But if your architecture allows you to mock data and insert whatever you, whatever, for example, your repository is giving you regarding the data access, then it's also possible to view these data properties. Yeah.
All right. So leave it to Flutter developers to try to find a way to cut things apart and use only part of it and not all of it. Because someone's wondering if they can steal your preview in order to preview a different app because they'd like to use the very nice looking presentation layer.
Yeah, you can do this. So this is why we open source everything, because we think this is something great that we are building. And also, as you've seen, we are also using device frame, which is also a great open source tool. So it would be great if you want to use our functionality within your own tool. And it would be great if you decide this is something great, and you would like to repurpose it for another application or another use case. Let us know if you do so. We also might be interested in how you're repurposing our widget book. So if you feel free to do so. Okay.
All righty. Let me see here real quick. Oh, that was a bad idea. Let's try a better idea. That's a better idea. I have lots of bad ideas. You know how that goes. So we were talking about regular device preview, which already then, that was the wrong one. Clearly.
Yeah, that's mine, Scott.
Oh, okay. That's what's going on there. I had a pop-up that was in the way. So okay, I thought I had one. Technical difficulties here. We're working on it. Here we go. Okay, this device preview is able to show you what your app will look like on just about any other device. So this is your device, and this is the preview. Device preview is often used on tablets so that you can take a look and see what any phone looks like, which is really pretty cool. So if you take a look at that, this is on pub.dev. It's device preview 1.0. And it's a really, really cool tool. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we agree.
Good. Jens, you were saying?
Yeah, so we agree. But I also did a mistake. It's the packages. So there is a package which is called device preview, and we are using device frame, which is used by device preview. But yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Well, Flutter old timers who are dusty and crusty, like Sully and I, We remember the day that Flutter came out with Provide, which was 48 hours after Remy announced Provider. So that's a whole different story. And you notice Provide is not around anymore. In short, it did the exact same thing as Provider. The Flutter team took a look at Provider and said, we like the way Remy did it better. So they pulled Provide down and recommended Provider since.
Nice.
Anyhow, let's see here. James was looking at your screen, Jens, and was trying to see any kind of an export option. Now, I'm assuming export for PNG, JPEG, PDF would be looking at the preview, perhaps, to be able to show a client or something, but I'm not quite sure. And I know James is still here because he just typed another thing. So James, if you could type one more and clarify, are you wondering about a PNG or JPEG of what exactly?
Yeah, so like maybe I can imagine what James meant, and I can like rephrase the question and give it back to James. So James, do you want to share? Do you want to have an export so that you are able to share your widgets with your design team? Is that what you are thinking of? Yes, for your X design. Okay, because then that might actually be the case that I was referring to in the beginning. So because what we built on top of the open source package that we just showed you is a collaboration platform for your whole front-end team, so that developers, designers, and product owners can collaborate a lot more efficient. Because what we enable them to do is like the developer can go ahead and catalog all the widgets that he or she developed in the app and share this widget book with their entire team using our collaboration platform. And thereby, the whole widget book is available on the web and can easily be accessed by the design team or also by the product owners or also by clients. And everyone can, very easily have full transparency about all the developed widgets and can also easily give precise feedback if the developer really met the design requirements of the designer. Yeah, but that's something that we can show you in a second.
Okay, sounds good. A couple of general questions here we can knock out real quick. Is Flutter Web SEO friendly? And using AdSense in Flutter Web and Firebase and Flutter Windows. Firebase and Flutter Windows is probably going to be with the packages, with the Flutterfire packages, and you'll have to double check and see if they are updated for Windows yet. AdSense, Google did just come out recently with a whole thing about monetizing. Do a quick search on YouTube for monetization in Flutter. Zoe Fan did a fantastic video on that. I'll try and look it up here in a moment and make sure we get a link in the chat. And as far as Flutter Web being SEO friendly, it's just as SEO friendly as Vue.js or anything else that compiles to JavaScript. However, disclaimer, once again, use Flutter for web apps. You don't really want to use it for a full website normally. There are rare cases, but you almost always want to use Flutter for a web app that's put into a page. Don't worry, even for a whole page, but not for the website. So if you want to know how to handle SEO in Flutter, how do you handle it with anything that compiles to JavaScript? Because that's what's happening. Flutter is compiling to JavaScript. And let's see here. Next. How can I connect my Flutter desktop app to peripheral devices like barcode scanner, electricity, prepaid card loader, etc.? The same way you connect Flutter to any other hardware. You have to remember Flutter is not an operating system. It's a UI toolkit. And it needs packages to interface with the hardware. There are so many different kinds of hardware. A gentleman on the Flutter team once told me that there is no way in the world they could possibly get the staff to create, to create all kinds of drivers and such for all these different hardware things that go in devices. So I'm also reading at the same time. But the point being, the community creates the plugins that makes these things work. And if it doesn't exist, then you can either write it, or if you don't think you have the skills to write it because you don't know enough about interfacing with Windows, reach out to the community and try and pair up with someone, or get people involved. Also, if it's with Bluetooth and with cables, they can use platform channels to communicate. And I also got a suggestion about paying people to help develop plugins. Thanks for that one, Salih. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to help out. Yeah, like what I wanted to say was like the peripheral devices might go into like different categories, right? So if it's Bluetooth, first check out the Bluetooth libraries if they're supporting the platform that you want to be on. And if they're supporting, then good, you can use those libraries. But if they don't, or if you're using cables with different protocols or whatever it is, at the end of the day, you have the control over your system that you belong to, right? For example, you can have a full setup about your home automation system with hardware already planted. And it could use Android operating system above everything, which you can simply just communicate with the underlying layer by using platform channels, right? You can write the dot code, communicate, and get the result at the end. Yeah. And PayMap is like, it was for the Flutter community members solution. One thing to keep in mind is everyone here is doing a tremendous job by sparing their free time actually to deliver the information to you. And a lot of libraries are already part of these free times. And also you might be needing something and you might be trying to convince your company to pay for the services. One example I can give is the company that I work for. We needed a rich text editor, so we talked to the people who has abilities to do it, and we sponsored, so to say, that library to come to life. And this is also an important point because at the end of the day, people need to eat, right? So
I just had a conversation with the main man who's the driving force behind Bounty Hunters yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, that's a whole different program. In fact, that's Matt Carroll, also known as Super Declarative, formerly known as Fluttery, and he's going to be here next week to talk about that whole program. So be sure to be here. And for those of you who don't know, Matt was on the Flutter team at one point. And then as many Googlers do, you get Google on your resume, people wave money at you, they move on. But all right. And as far as app monetization goes, there we go right there. That what you want to search for on YouTube is right there. Flutter update app monetization. And that will get you this video. And that is Zoe Fan, who is doing this presentation right here. And Zoe is the Flutter, product manager in charge of, first-party customers and monetization. Flutter actually has 5 project managers. Don't ask. Just don't ask. Chris Sells is developer experience. Miriam is web. Zoe is monetization and first-party customers. Michael is Dart. And actually, Chris just left.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Chris just left like
Yeah.
days ago. So yeah, my head's spinning here. Yes, thank you, John. Thank you. Day late and a dollar short. John Weiss down there saying that Chris Sells just left. So let's see here. We've got a Widgetbook question. Is it possible to host the built result and share the Widgetbook with a simple link? For example, to a UI or UX team.
Yeah, that's indeed possible. Maybe I can answer this like maybe in 5 minutes.
Okay.
I would like to finish how you can define use cases and preview widgets, and then I can immediately present how
Sounds good.
you can host this solution. And
Do you want to go back to your screen share?
yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. But I
Well,
mean,
there you go.
short answer is it is possible, John.
It is indeed. Okay. Yeah. So we have one last property left in the explanation of how to use Widgetbook, and this properties is the categories property, in which you can first of all define categories, but also folders, widgets, and then use cases. And yeah, within the UI, you will see the categories up here. Then folders is, I think, pretty obvious by the icon. You will have the like widget that is like encapsulating all the use cases, and then you have the yeah, specific use cases that will show you different scenarios. For example, we have a short title here, and now we have a longer title. And as you can see, the implementation is not working properly with this. So this is also an option for you to test out how your UI behaves in different scenarios. Okay, and yeah, we have this like nested structure that allows you to define the categories. All these structures require a string, a name that is then displayed within Widgetbook, and you can obviously nest folders into each other, and within each folder or category, you can put these widgets that, as I've shown you in the UI, have also a name. And each of these widgets can have multiple use cases. And the use case, as the previous objects, also has a name, but it also has a builder function, which gives you a context. So this also allows you to access, for example, themes or other data, for example, a provider or yeah, blogs, and helps you to build a specific yeah, representation of how a widget is rendered out. So in this case, we have the recipe info widget. This is yeah, this is this one. This is this one with a text and yeah, a button. And this recipe info widget requires, as you can see in this pop-up here, requires a data model. And yeah, so we are kind of mocking the data. So we are putting like artificial data here that helps Widgetbook to figure out how to render this out. So you have to provide all the required parameters can be shown, and then yeah, you can access this within Widgetbook. Okay, so since I've already talked a lot about how to set it up, I will now answer the question that I think John has asked. And yeah, so one way of hosting this Widgetbook is a solution that we from the Widgetbook team provide. It is called Widgetbook Cloud, and this allows you, as Lucas already said, to share this Widgetbook on multiple branches with different members of your team. And the first question is always, how do I get it up into the cloud after I've defined this within code? And we are providing a solution currently for GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. And I will present to you now the solution, how it's done in GitHub, but we obviously also have documentation for the other providers as well. So what you're seeing here is a quite simple action that runs on every push within the repository. And yeah, so we are checking out the code. We are configuring Flutter for the action, and then we are building the widget book. So in this scenario here, we are building a web version, as you can see, and we are targeting a specific file, a specific library. And yeah, in this case, it is the main.widgetbook.dart file. And here we have used the generator, the widgetbook generator, to generate the widget book. So this makes sure that you are actually not compiling your app, but the widget book. And yeah, this operation here creates all the necessary files to host this. And then we are providing a GitHub action, which is called widgetbook hosting. And this requires you to specify the path where this has, so where the widget book has been built. And so this is most of the time, this is just the build web folder. And you will also need an API key, and then it will get uploaded to our Widgetbook Cloud. And I can show how this solution then looks when, for example, the designer accessing this tool. So we have a service running that allows you to create a project, and we will look into the recipe app project now. As you can see, I have also projects for GitLab and Bitbucket, just for demonstration purposes. And here we can now see different versions of widget books that have been uploaded. For example, Lucas here made a change like 2 hours ago and updated an older build that might have been outdated or that needed some fixing. And here you can, the product owner can also download the API keys. But most important is how you can view the widget book that has been uploaded. And it is extremely simple. You just click, you will wait a few seconds, and then you can access the widget book as you have been accessing it from your workstation. And you have all the features here. You can, for example, browse all the widgets, preview all the widgets. And the best of this solution is that your designer doesn't have to figure out how to run your code, how to set up Flutter, how to get everything running and configured. You can just go to your platform, to the version of Widgetbook that has been deployed by your GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket action, and yeah, it's extremely simple to use. I also hope that this answers the question.
All right. So let's see here. We've got another one. Wondering about a Figma to Widgetbook plugin. And just for fun, let's drag Salib.
Yeah, maybe we give Lucas a little bit of screen time, and he can answer the question, because I've already been talking so long.
Yeah, so I mean that's a great question that James is just asking, and I don't know if James has already been a Widgetbook user, but that's really something that has been requested quite frequently over the past weeks and months, and therefore that's something that we looked into, and we will actually provide a solution in the next weeks. So stay tuned. And you can really hope so we really hope that it will suit your needs, because we really think that it will be a great next feature for Widgetbook.
Righty. Well, let's see here. We're still checking to see if there are any more questions. In the meantime, completely off topic, the Iditarod is happening right now. Last of the great races. It's a 1,000-mile race across Alaska with sled dogs. They start out with a team of between 12 and 14 dogs on a sled and go running across the snow and ice. It takes about 9 days to do this race. And just to let you know, not only is it not that hard for the dogs, it's a lot harder on the people. Trust me. And the boss is home, as you can see. So everybody say hi to the boss.
Hi, boss.
There we go. I think this is directed to the boss. Rock on with your bad self. All righty. We are coming up on an hour right now. I'd like to thank Salih for being here for moral support.
Always, man.
And
Always.
we do seem to be at a lull in the questions, and it is one of those days. So we're going to cut it and head on out. And let's see here. Oh, yeah. One more. Does clean architecture make sense in Flutter? Architecture in Flutter is a very complicated subject because it is tangled up with the reactive paradigm of how to handle changes in state. And what I mean by that is there are ways of approaching handling your state changes that basically are built around organizing the app in a certain way. And then when you organize the app that way, it basically almost becomes the architecture in and of itself. I guess the closest it would be is model view MVVM. But there's none of the standard architectures are a perfect fit, because what's actually going on here is you have a state, you have the object, and you have the UI, and someone interacts with the UI and it changes the state. Well, then what needs to happen is you have to have a management system that detects the change and then rebuilds the entire UI. And then the UI just sits there and waits for another state change. So go ahead.
Sorry. I just jumped in. Sorry. Like, at the end of the day, these, like, all of the answers that four of us can give is highly subjective, right? Like, rule of thumb is always first be the developer of your app by yourself, which means that make the right decisions. There are general truths that clean architecture or any other best practices books or rules are bringing, like splitting the UI with the business logic. This is a really common thing to keep in mind. And how you're going to be handling your data is completely up to you. You might have a reactive view that should be subscribing to the changes, and then MVVM is the best one for you. Then that's perfect. You might be an old school person who likes the old stuff. You might do MVC, even though it is dead. It's totally up to you as well. So at the end of the day, every decision comes from the fact that first, what is your expertise? Second, what do you want to achieve? Third, what are the common best cases or like best use cases that you should be doing? Other way around, you can call it clean architecture, you can call it solid architecture, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, rule of thumb is use the one that is correct for your use case.
Oh, definitely.
And the other thing too is, I mean, you do want to stick to clean code to a point. You also do want to use some comments. Basically, the next 100 lines are trying to do X. Is it? This section accomplishes this task. So yeah, the code does not totally explain itself because I don't want to read 100 lines of code in order to understand what the section's doing. I just want a quick little thing and then I can move on because that's not the section I'm looking for. But there are basically, what I'm seeing is 3 different ways of approaching things. One of them is packaging by type, which means you have your pages in one place, which is your screens, and then you have all of your widgets, which is the pieces that make them up. And oftentimes those widgets will be used in multiple screens. And then you can also have, say, your API and your utilities. And this is packaging by type. You're packaging your screens together, your widgets together, things like that. Also, packaging by feature is something that's used quite often, and it is like a kissing cousin to block, the block pattern. You have one page and everything that goes with it here. You have another feature or function that everything is contained right here. And it's almost to the point where you could just delete that and boom, the whole thing is gone. And kind of in a way it is, but you run into some interesting things with the old rule of do not repeat yourself. Because if you are using the header on a whole bunch of different pages, you only want to have one header. You don't want to repeat it all over the place. So now you end up with a common widgets folder. And if you start doing a bunch of these, now you're actually kind of leaning into packaging by type again. So it can end up with a strange cross. Also, people use Redux, some, on huge projects. That in itself is its own architecture and its own management system. And another thing that people often do, they will just, as we said, you create the models, you create the view models, and you update with provider or Riverpod, something like that. So let's see. Next. When can we make games using Flutter?
No.
As of about, 2 years ago?
Yeah,
I think 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So Flame and yeah, there are actually tools for that. You can go ahead and look them up. And basically, the one thing you can't do right now is 3D. People are working on it. Community people, not the Flutter team. Don't bug them about 3D, please. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But the Skia graphics engine is a 2D engine, and that's what the limitation is there. Let's see. Okay, somebody. James, just as my finger was coming down on the button for a different question. Okay, should one go for generic projects or spend a lot of time thinking of a unique idea? It's a little unclear what you mean by that, but if you're looking to have things in your GitHub portfolio, anything will do. What's going to be important is showing that you can write clean code, showing that you can comment things without too many ridiculous comments and not so few comments that people can't figure out what you're doing. What else, Salih? What else are you looking for if you were looking at someone's GitHub profile and they were trying to get a job?
I mean, what we're looking for is basically how do they reach out to the problems? How can they fix something that they have as a challenge, and if they are able to explain, because at the end of the day, people can just go to Stack Overflow, copy a bunch of code and make something running. That doesn't make that they actually did that. It just shows that they can speak English. So we need to understand that if they actually did something. So I would suggest that just first try to read the open source projects that are good out there. Just try to do your best to understand how you can improve yourself, how you can do better. And overall, what you need to keep in mind is always be descriptive about your code. Explain everything. Just use a lot of comments, use a lot of documentation, and even whatever you have in your mind, you can put it down as a diagram, right? Like just as a whimsical or like whatever platform that you're using. I don't want to say, I don't want to do any advertisement. Yeah, long story short, it doesn't matter if you have a unique idea. You can reinvent the wheel 100,000 times as long as one of the wheels are unique and have good quality. That is all I care. I don't care if it's another wheel.
Yeah, if people highlight a bunch of your code, search it on Google, and find out that you lifted it from somewhere else, you're not going to get the job.
Yeah.
But so just write original stuff as far as your code is your code. But I can't even tell you how many different people have done a movie app where it queries the YouTube API and comes up with a list, and you can do favorites and you can play a movie on video and things like that. It's a pretty standard thing. It's an accepted thing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you just need to, write code that people can understand, and write code that people would want to maintain, and most importantly, write code that would not give someone reviewing your PR a nightmare. So let's see. Excuse me. How can I get better at data structures and algorithms with Dart? Well, first of all, don't worry about Dart when you're talking about data structures and algorithms. You need to understand them in general, and not to be advertising anything, but what helped me the best is algoexpert.com. ALGOEXPERT. His course is well worth paying for. Really is. So that's pretty much there, but he'll walk you through everything up through graph problems and such. I do believe in the expert level, he even touches on the traveling salesman. Talk about something that will give you nightmares. So let's see. Provider. Sorry.
That was a quick one.
We have a GDE here. Salih, you're a GDE.
I can pick sites. I can just say that I'm using provider in my projects. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And that's other people who have been on here. We've looked a little bit on the show at things under the hood, and we've looked a lot more at it offline. And everyone I know is using something other than GetX professionally. And there have been a lot of reasons stated, but that's basically where it's at. If you know GetX, then you know GetX shortcuts. That's wonderful. If you're working on your own project, that's great. But when you are trying to get a job doing Flutter, you need to know Flutter. Now, if you already know Flutter and you want to use GetX, that's great. That's fine. You already, you understand how to use a context. You understand how to use build theme of context dot text theme dot headline 2 dot color, things like that. You understand how to change the brightness. You understand how to use ancestor state of type. You understand what did update widget means. What's that, Sully?
I said nested navigation.
Yeah, nested navigation. What happens is GetX obfuscates this stuff to the point that people who use only GetX don't even understand a lot of how Flutter works behind the scenes. And if you're going to be a Flutter developer, you need to know that. So if you already know that and decide to use GetX, then hey, you know what, more power to you. But just make sure you understand Flutter. So let's see here. Okay. Coming down here. Oh no. Recipe app. Recipe apps are just like movie apps. So let's see here. AI or AR custom services. Well, you're going to want to look into plugins for that. People have been looking at a lot of things like TensorFlow. I haven't seen it recently. Have you seen anything, Salih?
I haven't seen it because it is still really not mature enough to be in a real app, to be honest. But for the AR part, at least not AI, but the AR part, we have the talk from Flutter Europe that has been made by Olex. Unfortunately, right now he's having hard times because of the war that he has in his country. But I'm leaving the link to the chat so you can check out his talk. He explains AR stuff quite thoroughly, and I think it's a really valuable talk. So let's check it out.
Okay, and when we get that into chat, we will relay that up here. We have actually in the community, we have a lot of people in Ukraine. A lot. Our thoughts are with many, many, many of them. Anna used to be Domash. She is now married. Anna, the reason that I haven't said your married name is I can't pronounce it. But she prefers to go by her married name now. But last I talked to her, she and her husband had escaped the city they were in, and they were staying in a hotel. They felt they were in pretty good shape. They had resources. They did not need a free place to stay. They felt pretty fortunate, and they were safe at the time. Anna Matelska is the producer of Geekly's Flutter Global Summit. She is in Kiev, and she is hunkered down in a bunker working with people to try to resist the invasion right now. So, yeah, and that's just two of actually many. There are many more Ukrainian Flutter people than you would realize. So our thoughts are with them. You know, fingers crossed. If you know some of them, try to check on them every once in a while. Make sure that they know we haven't forgotten about them. So let's see here. Let's see. Okay. What's the scope for Dart Web and Dart Server? Should I work on production with this? I was just having a conversation with someone about this 2 hours ago. Not kidding. I am currently working on a Flutter Web project myself. The Dart Server, what I believe you're talking about is people doing end-to-end Dart from the UI in Flutter all the way down through the logic in the Flutter app, then through the cloud functions and such in Flutter using Dart HTML in order to communicate with the server, and then the server itself written in Dart. Server-side Dart. Yes, it is absolutely possible to go end-to-end full stack knowing nothing but Dart. Sometimes it's not the most efficient thing in the world, especially when you're getting into Flutter Web, which is one of the reasons that we recommend limiting it to a web app. But it is absolutely possible, and there can be very serious cost savings. If you only really have to have your team understand the one language, and it also gives you a lot of flexibility when everyone understands the one language. But yeah, there are a lot of people looking at this, and I was just discussing it with a product owner this morning. So let's see here.
Or this evening, right? Where you're at.
I'm sorry,
You had a talk this morning or this evening, according to where
It was at 11 my time.
Okay.
11 my time, which is I'm in New York time. So
Okay.
fortunately, I'm not in New York. Nothing against New York. It's just I like somewhere I can drive. So I think everybody in New York would agree New York is not somewhere that you want to drive. So let's see here. Lucas and Jens, we've got one for you.
Oh,
Which
amazing.
is one of the strongest features of Widgetbook.
Yeah. So I think if you would need to break it down to this one feature, for us, it's definitely the ability to quickly preview your widgets in isolation. And then with our collaboration platform, it's then possible to share those isolated widgets with your designers. That first of all leads to transparency in your dev team. No one will ever again develop widgets twice or even more times. Everyone will always stay up to the game in the app, and then if you can like really simplify and speed up your review process with your design team, that's really a huge pain that we're solving for our customers. Yeah. But what would really interest me is maybe to give a question to you, Scott and Sally. Do you think that that Widgetbook could also be valuable for your teams?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I can definitely say that we can benefit out of it because we already do something similar, right? So we have the design system that we're creating out of Figma. So +1 to the Figma to Widgetbook support, and right now we are creating everything from scratch by our hands, and it is really useful. Like I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who didn't have a chance to work on a big scale application, but the importance of Widgetbook or the logic of Storybook itself is kind of huge. It brings the design team and the developers together in a way that feedback sessions can go way smoother and everything goes very faster. So with the investment that you do to Widgetbook or any tool like this, you are actually saving money in the long run because a lot of things are getting easy for you. So I can definitely say that we already tried to implement what we have in this way, and I would definitely invest on this for sure.
Yeah. And in our case, it really comes down to two different possibilities or two different things in my mind. One, the way things are right now is if you develop a widget for one client and they paid you for that time, you can't really reuse it within your team for a different client, right? Because we're working on many different projects and they're all owned by different people who are paying us. Whereas Salih doesn't want to advertise. I'll tell you, Salih is working for Superlist. So he is one of the people behind the Superlist app. But you're working on one company's app, right? Whereas at Dev Angels, we're working on apps for many different companies. So if company A pays me to develop something that is really cool and it's reusable, well, that's great that it's cool and reusable, but I can't really pick it up and drop it into company B's app, right? Because company A paid for that time. Now, if we were going to do things where we develop on our own time and then we could reuse them in any app, that'd be great. We can put them in with Superlist. Now, the other way is what Matt Carroll is going to be here to talk about next week, which is they're talking about doing something called bounty hunters. And I'll let Matt tell you really what it's all about. But the short version is if company A and company B and company C all need a widget. Let's say they need a barcode reader. Okay, and they need a very flexible barcode reader that can read anything, whether it is a US driver's license or a UPC code or a 3D barcode, anything. Fine. So what can happen is company A, B, and C all pay a little bit of money to one group who develops that widget. They develop the widget under an MIT license that can be used by anyone. Now, why would the companies want to do that and let the whole world have it? Well, because they're getting it for 1/3 of the price. Whereas those companies would have to pay 3 times as much to get the same exact thing. And as long as they get it, what do they care if anybody else uses it? Because if the community builds the barcode reader, then it's going to be able to read whatever type of barcode the parameter is you pass in, and it's going to have a blank looking user interface that you customize to your app. So companies get these things for less money, the community gets them for free, and the people who are working on them get paid. So that's kind of important because we run out of drink now and then. So let's see
Yeah,
here.
I mean, the agencies and product companies are completely different, right? So I'm sure for the Widgetbook, also the primary targets are the product companies rather than agencies. At the end of the day, with agencies, you get paid by the things that you deliver, and that deliverables are unfortunately the things that they see as valuable. I mean, the clients see as valuable. So I definitely agree with Scott. In my opinion, for the agencies like Dev Angels or like Very Good Ventures or whatever it is, it might go to the plan B. But for the companies that they care about product health and relationship between the designers and the teams in the development, I think Widgetbook would be something that is definitely valuable.
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely agree. But what we see, for example, is that actually there are like many clients of ours are actually those app agencies, so that are developing multiple apps for different clients. But what they are still doing, I mean, of course, they are kind of developing faster because they are not developing like one huge app, but they are developing, let's say, not one huge, but I don't know, 10 bigger apps for their clients. But they still have a similar development process because they also have a process that first of all the designer designs in Figma, for example, then the developer takes over and has to really meet the design requirements. But as we all know from our Flutter experience, often you really don't meet the design 100%, or maybe the designer forgets a specific use case. So in the end, the designer or the product owner in the end has to review it. And therefore also with these app agencies, they often require such a service. So Scott, do you have internally a similar process, or are you using like a totally different review process for your team?
We're keeping everything separate for right now. And it's funny, I was going to mention whether or not you want your people to develop something on the agency's time that can be reused anywhere, or if you want to develop it individually for each customer. It sounds like a joke, but it's actually kind of true. It depends on whether you're working on flat rate or by the hour.
Oh.
Because if you're working by the hour, you lose money dropping your own component in and having paid for it yourselves. But at the same time, if you are getting paid by the hour, then you do it separately. Or if you're getting paid flat rate, then you develop it one time. And yes, you can move much more quickly. And then you still get the same amount of money. So I know it kind of sounds almost like a joke, but really, it depends on how you're getting paid. Okay. Let me see here. How do I get started contributing to open source? Honestly, go ahead to the Flutter contributors guide, and where most people start is contributing to the documentation. Start reading the docs, if you hit a point where you think something could be explained better, or if there's no code example and you think there should be one, change the docs. Go ahead, fork Flutter. On your fork, you make the changes you think should be there, and then do a PR. And that's how you get started. And, eventually you'll get dragged into writing more and more complicated things, and you'll hate the fact that I told you how to get started.
I mean,
So,
also we need to tell about since we talk about open source, we need to talk about Flutter community plugins, right? And like plus plugins and everything. So Flutter community has an incentive program within the community itself. Right now, it is driven by several people, and actually a lot of the packages that has been developed by the team had caused Flutter team to discontinue what they have in their ecosystem and actually suggest to use the one from the community.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can also check those open source projects from the GitHub account of Flutter community, check out some easy fixes that you can do, and just jump to the train. The people are highly friendly, so no one will bash you if you do something wrong. You will just learn something out of what you will be doing as an experience. So I would definitely recommend checking out that as well.
Yeah, the whole community of Flutter is really cool, and basically everybody knows everybody. So you really want to protect your reputation. It's also how you get a lot of work, because they're really good jobs. People come and ask experienced Flutter people, hey, are you interested in this job, or do you know anyone? And of course, they all look around and they look for people with a good reputation who they feel are good to recommend. And if you want to be on that list, treat people well. So let me see here. I think we're pretty much getting down to it. James, you did mention about you're not sure about the other idea with different companies chipping in for the bounty hunters thing being profitable. Be here next week. Talk to Matt Carroll about that. He's the one spearheading it. And somebody had asked about VGV. Nobody here works for VGV, but VGV is an agency, just like Dev Angels. We keep, we would love to get more VGV people here. Yaron, Jay, is a VGV person. And what seems to happen, though, every time somebody joins VGV, they fall down a hole, and we never see them again. So, all these guys like, Jorge, Felix, David, Jay, and quite a few others, we used to go out to dinner. We used to have beers. We used to have fun. Guys, you never call. You never write. Your mother's worried sick. Okay? Come see us more often. All right. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Unless anybody has anything else specific.
So if you don't mind, we'd like to share like two announcements
Sure.
for the last minute. So I quickly share my screen again.
Sure.
Because what we actually did is I talked about it in the beginning. So we are still in closed launch with Widgetbook, but in the past weeks, we received a lot of great feedback regarding the collaboration platform, and therefore we are now stable and up and running, and we'll launch publicly in about 4 to 6 weeks. But we still are open to get more companies in our early access program now. And if you like to take part in it, you can just go on our website, widgetbook.io. And by clicking on Get Access, you see both of our plans. So either you can get access to our open source package, it's free and it's free forever, or you can really sign up to become part of our pilot customer program. And we now opened a few limited seats for new companies to join. So if you like to do it, you can definitely do so and talk to us. We are open to get you on board. And what is also exciting is that we are now in fundraising again. So we are closing our next funding round in the next month, and therefore we are also hiring more engineers. So if you would like to join our mission to accelerate Flutter development even more, and enjoy the perks of working for a growing tech startup from Germany. We got a bunch of opportunities, so either dev relations or backend development, also front-end development. We also got roles for UI UX design. So if you're up for that, we would definitely love to get your application.
One thing that I would like to actually congratulate you is hiring juniors. I think it's really important and really valuable. I'm really happy to see it. One thing that probably everyone will be asking, I'm going to ask as well. By remote, do you mean that they need to be in Europe, or it is all around the world, or do you have like any time zone limitations?
No, they can basically work wherever they like. So, for example, we have made great experience with one engineer that we hired from the US. He's working in a completely different time zone than we are. So, like right now, it's in the morning for him. So we got, I think, 6 hour time difference, and we really still managed to work together. Pretty great. And therefore, I mean, of course, we prefer to have the time zone to be as close to ours as possible. And we are located in Germany, so we got like Central European time zone or UTC +1. But we are just open for any great talent that likes to join our mission.
Very cool. And that's, it's great for hiring juniors because a big part of it for a long time, people wanted to hire a Flutter developer and they kept saying senior, senior, senior. And it's like, do you want to hire a Flutter developer or do you want to hire a Scrum Master? But you have to pick one. You can't tell me that I have to be both.
Yeah, I mean, the greatest job advertisements were always those asking in 2018 for 5 years experience in Flutter.
In Flutter, yep. It's been amazing. That he's not kidding, folks. Flutter was in alpha in 2017. It went into beta fairly soon thereafter. It went into 1.0 in the release on December 4th, 2018. And no, I think it actually took until about June 2019 before we started seeing job postings asking for 3 years experience in Flutter, 5 years experience in Flutter. It's like it went 1.0 last week.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah. Well, you know, like they say, if you have half the qualifications, apply for the job, because usually they're not looking for everything they post anyway.
That's true.
That is my motto as well. Yeah.
But yeah, that's thank you for hiring the juniors, because you know they need to learn how to plan sprint meetings and do other things like that somewhere. And yeah, and to anyone who's looking for a Flutter job who's a new developer, I cannot stress enough, go to GitHub and do the tutorials on the project boards. And I don't mean the tutorials are on the project board. I mean, do the tutorials for how to learn to use a project board. Okay. Go and make sure that you know how to use Git from the command line. Make sure you understand the difference between rebasing and merging, and you know how to rename, and you know how to rebase not just down onto master or dev, but you know how to rebase any one commit onto another. Okay, because these are all things you're going to need to know as a developer no matter what you're working on. So just learning Flutter is not enough. All right. And with that, I think I'm going to get back to watching the dog race. No, actually, I have work to do. So, and I'm going to watch a dog race. No, I'm kidding. So with that, I want to thank everyone for being here. Salut. Lucas, Jens. And we will see everyone again next week, where we're here with Matt Carroll and taking a look at the Bounty Hunters program. Take care.
See you guys.
See you, and thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming.